The following program may contain language of an adult nature. Listener discretion is advised.
Views and opinions expressed on the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff or management of alltalkradio.net.
Brothers and sisters! Brothers and sisters! I don't know what this world is coming to!
Hey yo, check this out, this is Flavor Flav, and if you want the whole truth, and nothing but the whole truth, so help the whole truth. Hey yo, you better listen to Dante, baby. Dante!
What's going on, guys, and welcome to another great edition of the Dontaesboxingnation show. I am your host, Dante, and as always, we got a whole lot to talk about, man. Man, it went down last week. We gonna get into it, but first things first, let me go ahead and introduce the panel. As always, in the studio with me on the ones and twos, George what's going on, man?
Not too much.
All right, and let me go ahead and introduce my guys on the panel. My man, BoxingEgo, Eric Morales, and I got my man Antphresh. You can check out his YouTube. It's Antphresh, and that's with a PH, not FR. Okay, so welcome to the panel, guys. I think Miss Boxing Baby, she's gonna be calling in a minute, but let's get it cracking, y'all.
I'm on the phone.
There you go. I was hollering at you. I didn't hear nothing. So, and we got my girl, Miss Boxing Baby. What's up, Moose? Let's do it. Anyway, the first thing I want to talk about is the biggest fight, man. Let's just get right into it. Let's talk about this big. It's not really an upset, but it was an upset with the result. Nobody expected it to end in the first round with Danny Jacobs. Okay, so Danny Jacobs, he knocks out Peter Quillin in the first round. It was a very impressive performance when you consider the fact that he was an underdog. Peter Quillin was undefeated. He had never been knocked out before. And overall, there's really nothing bad you can say about this performance. Now, the first thing I want to say, let me just start with you, BoxingEgo. Now, I wasn't really impressed because this was just a cheap-ass brawl. I mean, what do you think about this, man? Was it just a brawl or what, BoxingEgo?
Man, these fans, a lot of the fans are confused. Again, shout out to Danny Jacobs for his performance. Bottom line is this. The fans always find a way to criticize. Like they say, I'm reading dumb comments saying, oh, Triple G versus Lemieux was more impressive. Like, based on what, really? You know what I'm saying? They're saying Lemieux will beat Danny Jacobs easy, knock him out in one round. Like, the thing is, based on what? Danny Jacobs has less losses than David Lemieux. They've both been stopped. Danny Jacobs went in there and took an undefeated fighter and did what nobody else has been able to do to Peter Quillin. He got knocked down and hurt in the Andy Lee fight. He got hurt in the Gabe Rosado fight, but he stopped Gabe Rosado, or a cut stopped him or whatever. So you got to give credit where credit's due. Danny Jacobs went in there and annihilated. Peter Quillin landed like 2 punches and didn't know, you know what I'm saying, he was overwhelmed, and he didn't give him room to breathe. He did what champions do and closed the show, finished it. So a lot of these people that are leaving crazy comments saying it wasn't impressive, I mean, what else can you do in boxing other than a first-round knockout of an undefeated former champion? And again, the only reason he's a former champion is because he vacated his own belt. So I was picking Quillin to win along with a lot of people, and I was really impressed to see Danny Jacobs was able to pull the trigger like that and get him up out of there. That was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, since when do we criticize somebody for getting the first-round knockout? Now, I got to ask you, Eric Morales, with you being my Mexican brother on the panel, which you always let everybody know, I want to ask you the question, man. What would you say is the closest to Mexican style? What Danny Jacobs did to Peter Quillin or what Gennady Golovkin did to David Lemieux?
That's a tough question. And the only reason why it's tough is because we have to define what Mexican style is first. When I look at both fighters, neither one of them showed me Mexican style. There's not too many Mexicans as quick as Danny Jacobs. So, they really don't have that aspect of fighting. But if I had to compare the two, obviously a destruction would be the better choice of words for the Mexican style. So you would go with Danny Jacobs, but I didn't see him fighting that way. He was setting Peter Quillin up from the very beginning with that right hand. He saw something. He obviously trained for it and went after him and was just trying to catch him with that right hand, and he did, quick in the fight.
Yeah.
To answer your question, I would say probably more than likely Jacobs was the better adaptation of Mexican style for this particular fight. But as a career, you would say Golovkin looks more like the guy who comes in with the Mexican approach of not afraid to get hit to be hit.
I got a quick question for you, Eric.
Yes,
David
sir.
Lemieux, a known puncher. Danny Jacobs went in with a known puncher. Peter Quillen's knockout percentage is somewhere right around 80. So, to me, is it more impressive that since they were both dealing with punchers, and keep in mind, Peter Quillin was the shorter of the two. Danny Jacobs is 6 foot, Peter Quillin probably 5'10"ish, and they were both dealing with punchers. So, what's more impressive, given the fact that they were both in there with heavy-handed fighters, and Danny Jacobs was the taller of the two, unlike Golovkin, who was taller than Lemieux?
No, it was definitely more impressive to knock out. We saw Rubio already knock out David Lemieux years ago, so we know that can be done. So knocking out Quillin was, to me, a better statement. The only question is, could Golovkin knock out Quillin too? I've always thought he could hurt him bad and probably knock him out as well. That was before this fight. Now I'm almost I'm sure of it. But at the same time, Quillin got caught early, got quick. So it's really hard to say that, he's going to get caught early and quick like that again in any other fight. Jacobs obviously trained for him perfectly. But in that kind of case, in the question you just asked, definitely what Jacobs did over Quillin was better. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. What was that?
No, that was me. I was just going to say I would have favored Triple G over Quillin too, definitely with the amateur background for Golovkin and the lack of amateur background for Quillin. But the thing is, when I'm looking at Triple G, this is all fact. He hasn't knocked anyone out in the first round of the elite names or the bigger. He doesn't have any elite names, but the bigger names that he's faced. I mean, even Ishida lasted 3 rounds. So to me, I got to give credit where credit's due with Danny Jacobs seeing the first round knockout.
Absolutely. And Danny Jacobs deserves the credit. Let's not shortchange this guy. This guy's battled through a lot of adversity. He's come back, and he's become the middleweight champion in the world in a fight where a lot of people thought he was just a name for Quillin to beat. Because it sure did look like they were just setting Quillin up to get another victory. And then Jacobs comes in and ruins all those plans. So it was a great victory for Jacobs, and I'm very impressed. I'm happy for the guy. Very, very happy.
And I want to say, I disagree when you said that Gennady Golovkin, he has a style where he acts as if he doesn't care about getting hit. I totally disagree. See, I don't feel Golovkin really has a Mexican style at all, because when you watch the David Lemieux fight.
Not really. And I agree with that 100%.
Yeah. Because I think if we were to ask Gigi to define what Mexican style is, he says he likes big drama, and, basically he's saying, he likes to come forward and he likes to exchange, right? He likes to come forward. He likes big drama. But the thing is, he doesn't like to get hit, because when he fought against David Lemieux, that was his opportunity to basically put his head inside of David Lemieux's chest and go toe-to-toe, Mickey Ward, Arturo Gatti style. And that's not what we got. We got a chess match, right? We got both.
And that's the difference between what they do in Mexican style. Mexican style isn't going to care. He's going to keep doing the same thing. Golovkin has the ability to think it through and go a little bit more than just, let's go out there and brawl. So I give Golovkin plenty of credit as well.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'm only looking at the Mexican style angle because, once again, see, Golovkin, he puts a lot of pressure on himself. Because when you start saying you love Mexican style, you like big drama, and then when you get in with a power puncher, that's when you decide to box and use a jab and play it safe. If it wasn't for him promoting Mexican style, that would have been very impressive, just to be like, he has a good jab, et cetera, he has intelligence. But if you promote this style, that's what makes that look bad. So, the
one thing I do want to mention on that, when most people think of Mexican style, just real quickly, most people think of your Margaritos, your guys like that, your Chavezes, your come forward fighters, take punches or get punches. But when you look at the best Mexicans today, or the older Mexicans today, Juan Manuel Marquez, he doesn't necessarily fight Mexican style as we know it. And when you look at Canelo, he definitely doesn't fight Mexican style. So that might be a trend that's going away. It might not be a Mexican style anymore.
I knew it. Go ahead, guys. And you guys could jump in. Feel free to jump in, guys.
I'm not quite sure what Mexican style boxing is, because my favorite Mexican boxer is Ricardo Lopez, and he fought nothing like them dudes. So I don't really know what.
Exactly. Salvador Sanchez fought nothing like Margarito as well.
Nothing like them. He was a technician. He was defense first, so I'm not quite sure what Mexican style is. Second of all, I have to say that Jacobs beating Quillin is more impressive than Triple G beating Lemieux, because to me, Quillin is a more quality opponent who's fought better people. So I don't even know how people are even comparing the two fights. There's no comparison. Shout out to Danny Jacobs. for doing what he was supposed to do. If anybody was going to get knocked out, I had to say I thought it would be Danny. But he did what he was supposed to do. I'm still on the fences about the stoppage. I was thinking maybe he'll have him walk to him and see if he was okay. But no disrespect to Harvey Dock. He did what he thought was right. He's still a great ref. And the disrespect that I feel Quillin is getting, I feel is wrong. People call him overrated, or they knew he was going to lose. Here's a man who, to me, has a better resume than Danny. So how is he overrated?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people felt Quillin was protected. I think that was the issue. A lot of people felt that.
How was he protected? Look at his resume. The man
No, I agree, but that was the feeling when he dropped the belt.
The man said he vacated. It happened. He vacated his belt because he wanted to spend time with his family. That's his right. You're a boxer. You have the right to do that. But look at his resume. Whether he was overrated, whatever, lost to Danny, it still does not change his resume. People have to understand. This is boxing. The man got caught in the temple with a punch. Anybody would lose their balance. Mayweather did. When Mosey caught him in the temple. That's boxing.
Yeah.
That can happen to anybody on any given day. He got caught in the temple. He got woozy. Doc stopped the fight. It is what it is. But
I gotta jump in right here.
Hold on, but to disrespect, wait, to disrespect a former champion, how can you do that? I don't understand.
I gotta jump in on somebody. The thing with the whole protected thing is just like Miss Boxing Baby was saying. It's all about what you have on your resume. And the fact is, give David Lemieux credit for beating Hassan Indam. He knocked him down 4 times, and people talked about how great he looked. But they forget Peter Quillin was the first to beat Indam out of the two. He knocked him down. He knocked him down 2 more times.
Excellent point. Excellent point.
Peter Quillin knocked Indam down 6 times, not 4, and he did it before. So Peter Quillin fought the fresher, I guess you could say, Indam. And then we give Lemieux, that was the fight that catapulted him into the Golovkin Golovkin fight based on that performance. In addition, Peter Quillin went to a draw with Andy Lee. Name an Andy Lee caliber fighter that the Lemieux didn't lose to. You know what I'm saying? He fought Rubio. Now, he was good at the time, but he lost to him and got stopped. He lost again right after to Hoshim Alcine. So if we're going to say Peter Quillin is protected, he's at least been in there with Gabe Rosados, fought to a draw with Andy Lee, and he fought Winky Wright. Yeah, it was a hiatus, faded Winky Wright, whatever you want to say, it was still Winky Wright. So I don't see this whole protected thing.
No, and let me rephrase that. When I say protected, I mean he was avoiding the hard fights. As much as we like Nassam, he's not quite there. We like Lemieux, he's not quite there. But your Jacobs, your Golovkin, and all that.
Eric, I got a question.
You just compared it to Golovkin. Golovkin has
he
been
avoided the
protected
Russian
as well.
cat. Who was the Russian cat?
Matt Karabal.
But see, this is the thing. It takes 2 to tango. So how does Quillin get the blame for 2 people not fighting? Why can't you know what I'm saying? If Golovkin didn't fight Quillin and Quillin didn't fight Golovkin, why is it automatically Quillin's fault?
No, but you guys.
How did he avoid it?
But
good point. Good argument.
I'm just saying it's not like Golovkin sent over a contract to Kid Chocolate and he said,
"Thank you,"
and balled it up and threw it in the.
And when the last time you heard Triple G calling out a solid middleweight? I never heard him call out Danny Jacobs. I never heard him call out Kid Chocolate. When did he do that? Did I miss that?
But
the last I heard, he was calling out smaller dudes, like Mayweather.
But you guys also forget that Gennady Golovkin, he's been protected. He's been protected from Andre Ward. He's been protected from Edislandi Lara. He's been protected probably from James DeGale too. You know, so I mean, if we talking about fighters being protected, man, this is going to be a long conversation. You know, you got Canelo.
No. And let me rephrase. When I say protected, I didn't mean it in that sense of they're not letting them fight anybody. What I meant was he is not fighting the other big guys in the division, and that's all I meant. I didn't mean he's not fighting any opponents at all. I'm just saying the perception of what audience had was when Quillin dropped the belt, he didn't want to fight the tough guys.
Yeah,
and that was a perception. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah,
we know there was other circumstances.
Listen,
but as far as the boxing, just knowledge, we said, "Oh, look, he's afraid to really match it up with anyone."
And this is my whole thing.
Maybe I'm different because I didn't feel like that. I feel like a boxer has the right to vacate the belt and take time off if they choose to do it. Because look at his resume before that. And let's be honest, he beat Andy Lee. The only reason why they called it a draw because he didn't make weight, and to me, it was punishment. But he beat him. I was at the fight live. He beat him. So, you know, they don't give him credit for that. To me, give Danny Jacobs more credit for stopping this dude in the first round, but not calling him overrated because he got caught in the temple. Anybody, you go in there and get punched in your temple with 10-ounce gloves and tell me you won't get woozy. Anybody's going to get woozy from a punch in the temple from a punch like Danny.
But see,
so I'm still not getting how they're disrespecting him like that. Like, show the man respect. Then in defeat, he was very humble. He was very humble in defeat. Is that you?
Yes, he was. Very, very humble. And I think that was very classy. Very classy.
But this,
I saw 2 champions in that ring. They both got $1.5 million. They gave Brooklyn a fight. It just so happened that Danny got him early, and it is what it is.
but see, this is my whole thing.
Excellent breakdown, Boxing Baby.
This is my whole thing. The whole thing is, if Danny Jacobs and Peter Quillin, if they agreed to fight each other, I mean, forget about talking about what they did before, right? Like, for example, if Canelo Alvarez, if he decides to fight Golovkin, or Golovkin decides to fight Andre Ward, I'm not going to say right after that fight, well, you got to remember before this, they were protected and they didn't really fight this dude and that dude. I mean, you can't say that after the fact. You can say that before the fact. Before the fact, then you could say that. Now, let me go ahead and just put my man Ant in the mix, who's been waiting patiently while we've been rumbling over here.
Sorry. I know, it's all good.
Yeah. Now, Ant.
What's up, man?
I just want to ask you, what did you think about the performance, and what did you think about Showtime? I'm gonna go into this clip right now. Check this clip out.
All right, Mo, and I think a lot of people are saying, wow. As Daniel Jacobs said, what a career and life-defining win for him. For Daniel Jacobs, I know Gennady Golovkin is generally thought of the tip-top of this division, but if you're Daniel Jacobs, you can now say and have a legitimate beef and say, I've now beaten and stopped a better fighter than you have beaten when you look at your entire resume. It's a big win here for Daniel Jacobs.
Position as a top 10 middleweight, and an argument can be made that with a victory over a former champion in Peter Quillin, that maybe he has a better resume now than the boogeyman in the division, Gennady Golovkin, who has 21 consecutive knockouts but hasn't faced anybody like a Peter Quillin in his credentials. I think this is going to open up plenty of opportunities for Daniel Jacobs moving ahead in a division that has a lot of curiosity now.
Because I know, Al, when I made that statement, people are going to be like, what the heck is this guy talking about? But when you look at Golovkin's resume, hey, look, now Daniel Jacobs say, look, I stopped Peter Quillin.
Well, I would argue that Martin Murray is on the par of Peter Quillin.
That's on YouTube. So, okay. Right. Now, basically, I'll just give you guys a little rundown of what the clip was. Basically, Showtime's Brian Custer and Ronaldo, one of the blow-by-blow announcers, they both said that this win over Peter Quillin was better than any win on Gennady Golovkin's resume. Basically saying that, Peter Quillin was a better win than any of Golovkin's wins. What do you think about that comment, Ant?
Man, I think it's kind of, kind of taking a shot at him. You know what I'm saying? And it just don't make any sense to me because, I mean, people were praising Quillin like crazy before that happened, and then it seemed like because they didn't get the result that they wanted, you know what I'm saying, that they're kind of, just dissing him for no reason. And the guy is a good, humble dude. I just don't get why all the hate, you feel what I'm saying? It's not like he was saying, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to get him out in one round or something like that. Then I can see people kind of, jumping on him a little bit. But at the same time, me being a boxer myself, I understand you have to have confidence before you even come into the ring. A lot of people quick to say, oh, this person is not humble, they not this, they not that, but that's bullshit. Like, you don't know what goes on in their homes or what they got going on. But just to keep it real, man, I mean, I feel like Jacobs did what he was supposed to do. He set everything up with the jab. He used lateral movement early in the fight, just making sure that Quillin didn't land nothing big. He was really alert. And then when he found it was time to do something, he did it. You know what I'm saying? Like, he jabbed and threw that right hand right over the top, boom, hit Quillin's chin. He started, shaking a little bit, waited till he got him, where he wanted him, and then hit him with that temple shot. And the rest is pretty much history. Because I will say this. People saying it was the stoppage was, it was too early. But how about this? What happened if he would have ended up in the hospital and his whole career would have been ruined, or maybe something neurologically would have been wrong with him, because Jacobs wasn't going to stop. That motherfucker was a panther. He was a beast. He was a dog. He was not going to stop. And he was landing accurate pinpoint shot. That guy knows where to punch. If you're a real good, like sweet science of the sport, like, if you really understand it, you know where to punch, not just throwing wild punches like people thought. He was landing at the temple, in the chin, on the side of the chin where all the nerves are at. Like, it's more technical than people, put it out to be. That's all I'm saying. Because I watched that fight like at least 4 or 5 different times because it was so quick.
Yeah.
That's all I pretty much got to say about that, though.
Now boxing.
Yeah.
Now,
hey, Dante.
Go ahead. I was just about to go to you. Go ahead.
Hey, Dante. I'm just about the Brian Custer comment. We need to get some money together and start doing this like rap battles. And then people who want to debate on that comment, and then we can put some money up and see who has the strongest debate.
There
people
it goes.
Bringing up Matthew Macklin and Martin Murray, saying they have better resumes and they're better fighters than Danny Jacobs. Martin Murray was never been a champion. Every time he stepped up, he lost. Even recently, he stepped up to Arthur Abram, lost. He fought Felix Sturm, and he got a draw. He fought Sergio Martinez, he lost. Some of them were controversial, but it's still a loss, and you still didn't live as a champion. We're talking about Peter Quillin is a former champion. And again, like Miss Boxing Baby was saying, he gave up his belt for personal reasons. That's the only reason he no longer had the belt. Because even if he fought Andy Lee to a draw, him being the champion, he would have kept the belt.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Martin Murray has never been a champion. So what are they talking about? They're saying Lemieux has a better resume and all. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Who had David Lemieux for? Who?
He hasn't fought anyone.
I don't even know. Like, I love David Lemieux. I like David Lemieux. You know what I'm saying? I was rooting for him to do good at least. I don't even know if David Lemieux beat Andy Lee, to be honest.
Let me just say this, man, and you know, response to what Ant was saying, I want to make it very clear. I don't believe that anybody is hating on Golovkin when you say that Danny Jacobs beating Peter Quillin was better than any opponent that Golovkin had beat. I don't really think that's hate. I just think that's the truth. You know what I mean? It's not just because you speak the truth don't necessarily mean that you personally don't like someone. You know, I mean, I don't care who it is. If you 34 years old and you haven't beaten, an undefeated fighter, you haven't beaten a pound for pound fighter, it's time to step up. And I truly believe even diehard Golovkin fans, eventually they're going to even say, I love Golovkin, but I want to see how he fights on that next level. I mean, I went around. I went around and I interviewed a whole bunch of different fighters of different races, nationalities, from Matt Korobov to Teddy Atlas to Terrence Crawford to Bob Arum, and they all said the same thing. They all said, he's strong, Golovkin is strong, but I just want to see him fight somebody. I want to see him fight somebody who is on his level, someone who's really going to challenge him. So, I mean, I don't think that's hating. I just think, that's the reality of it. That's the reality of it, because we're not really, I can't really think of any other fighter that we've praised before, especially one that was on a coincidental list that was in his mid-30s and had never fought an undefeated fighter, never fought a guy bigger, stronger, never fought, a guy who was, a top-notch fighter where it was like a 50-50 fight and people were saying that he's the next Marvin Hagler. You don't see that too often, so, I mean, go ahead.
Why people are busy trying to shit on Peter Quillin too, they fail to realize David Lemieux became a champion based on a vacant belt because of Jermaine Taylor is crazy and was getting locked up or whatever, so he had a vacant belt. David Lemieux beat Hassan Indam, who Peter Quillin had already beat more knockdowns, and he didn't defend. We don't even know if he retained his belt named against someone other than Golovkin. You know what I mean? He didn't defend against Curtis Stevens or something to see. Peter Quillin was a champion with title defense. That's the difference.
Yeah.
He was actually a champion, and he had defended his belt. David Lemieux didn't even get a chance to defend his belt and got thrown to the wolves against the biggest, baddest dude at middleweight in Golovkin and got tore up, lost every single round. Name one Peter Quillin title defense where he lost every single round, other than this Danny Jacobs one.
Exactly.
And he was competitive, like Boxing Baby said. I think I had him winning by a round or two, but they gave him a draw. Name one reason, you know what I'm saying? People are so busy and fixated trying to shit on Peter Quillin. Name one fight where he got dominated by anybody.
Yeah. I
mean,
he was.
I'm still on the. I still don't understand once again how they're shitting on him. They call him overrated, but not Triple G. And there's no attack on Triple G. But if you're gonna call somebody overrated, let it be the man who you can say is overrated, because he's not for a top 10 fighter yet. There's nobody on his record who's a future Hall of Famer. I can't name one. So, and he's calling out Terriano Johnson before. He ain't one either. So, if you're going to call somebody overrated, say it to the right person.
So, I mean, so if you're hating, so if anybody is being hated on, it ain't Golovkin. It's people like Jacobs and Quillin, because they're
Quillin has gotten most of the heat. Quillin has really gotten
But Quillin,
really bad.
But if Quillin,
I was at the press conference Thursday. The man is so humble. He's so humble. He had everybody pray for Pritchard Cologne before they even started talking. He's a nice guy. I don't understand what the attack is about.
But
Why?
see, this is the thing. Even if most of the hate is directed towards Quillin, that really doesn't make sense because Quillin was the favorite to win the fight. You know, so I mean, it's not like people were criticizing this matchup, saying, "Oh, you know, this is a garbage matchup because Quillin, you know, he's not that good," and et cetera, et cetera. This is an easy win for Jacobs. Nobody was saying that. In this fight, Quillin.
Dante, facts only. Let them in the comment section dispute the facts. Name one person Golovkin fought that was undefeated, 80% knockout ratio, that was taller than him, like Danny Jacobs, and that was a champion. Name one person that had like a 80% knockout ratio and one loss or something.
It's going to take a long time to answer that.
The one thing we're forgetting is as much as we're praising Quillin and all that stuff and Jacobs, we have to remember his last fight against Guerrero, he did not look like this. Guerrero hurt Jacobs, and that's why I'm talking about Guerrero Jacobs when Robert Guerrero and Daniel Jacobs fought. Jacobs was hurt by Guerrero.
Oh, Sergio Mora. You mean Sergio Mora?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, Sergio Mora. I'm sorry. My fault. I got the Mexicans mixed up. It happens a lot. They look alike. It happens. Don't worry about that. But as far as that, Sergio Mora did hurt him, and Sergio Mora is not known for power. And so it's really hard.
But what does that? But what does that prove, though? Rocky Balboa get knocked down all the time. I mean,
no. What I'm saying is, it's really hard to judge a fighter off one performance and say, "See, I told you you could beat Golovkin," or "I told you you could beat Quillin." He caught him cold in the first round. We've seen a lot of boxers get caught cold and they can't recover, and that's what happened to Quillin. So before we say Quillin was overrated, before we say Jacobs is the greatest, we really have to reevaluate and look at that again. That was too quick of a fight to just nominate him as the best.
I never said. Eric, I never said that. Eric, I never said he was the best. We only talking about the performance. That's all we talking about.
And I thought about Robert Guerrero. I said Sergio Mora. I know I seem like an idiot.
That's all. Danny Jacobs is a power puncher. He has, 30? He had 31 fights with 28 knockouts. So he knew to make this man respect him, I'm going to jump on him early. I didn't think he would do it that early, but he did. Yeah. So he did what he was supposed to do. I didn't hear nobody say nothing about, him and Triple G. Who was mentioning that? I think him and Quillin should have a rematch.
Misunderstanding. I'm saying about Jacob. How they were saying how Jacob was dominant. Golovkin, Quillin was a much better opponent than everyone else. That fight was too fast for me really to judge it.
No, that is the truth. He was a better opponent than Triple opponent. That's true.
No, but the bottom line is he just got two first round or a first round and a second round knockout back to back. Nobody had knocked out Sergio Mora, regardless of what you want to say about the stoppage. You know, my whole thing.
All these people.
Once again, everything.
Will we say Sergio Mora is better than Quillin because Sergio Mora gave a better performance against Jacob? I don't think so. But that's basically what we're saying.
No, this is what I'm saying.
It doesn't matter who's better between Mora and Quillin because he beat both of them.
He beat both of them. Yeah, and on top of it.
And we really got to talk about who's on the upside, too. You feel what I'm saying? Sergio Mora is going down, and Jacobs is arising. Like he's arriving, you know, in his prime, and he's a rising star. He got the story. So, you know what I'm saying? There's more to it than what was going on with Mora anyway. You feel what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
And Eric, I think you created your own narrative. I would favor Golovkin to beat Danny Jacobs. I would favor Golovkin to beat Edeslandi Lara, but I still want to see it because I'm a boxing fan.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Nobody's saying Danny Jacobs is the earth shatterer or the best on earth, but I still got to see it because I thought Quillin would beat Jacobs, and I was wrong with that. So I could be wrong. I got to see it, and Golovkin ain't getting no credit until he fights those types of people. Automatically better than Danny Jacobs because I thought Peter Quillin was better than Danny Jacobs or would win, and I was wrong.
And see
again, until Golovkin fights those calibers, the Danny Jacobs who are looking sensational first, second round knockouts, how can we give him credit?
Yeah.
So at that point, it's hard to argue Brian Custard's point about, or hard to disprove his point about Danny Jacobs might have a better resume just based off of that, what he did with the former champion.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see him I don't want to see him in Lara. I'm sorry. I think Lara has no chance in that fight. I'm sorry he don't throw enough punches. I don't want to see that. I want to see him against somebody who's in his division, his size, or smile like a Canelo. I don't want to see him in Lara. I just don't want to see. I think it's a waste of time.
Put it this way: I want to see him against someone I know.
Yeah,
I want to see Golovkin versus Jacobs. Yeah. I want to see that fight. I think that'll be an excellent fight.
I don't want to see him in Edeslandi Lara. He's smaller than him. He don't throw enough punches. He don't get beat up. I don't want to see that. I want to see him against somebody who's going to test him. Yeah, you had the power to test him.
Listen, let me say this though, Miss Boxing Baby. Now, at first, when I first heard people talking about Golovkin versus Lara, yeah, I always thought, and I probably still would lean towards Golovkin at the end of the day. But at the same time, this is what I start to look at. When I notice that Golovkin is willing to fight certain fighters, but he's not willing to fight somebody like Edeslani Lara, even, an Andre Ward, when you see that he's not willing to fight these guys, that's when it starts to make me question why. Is it maybe something that Golovkin sees? Like, I'll be honest, even with Danny Jacob, I even noticed he hasn't brought up Golovkin's name. Like, after his interviews, he keeps saying, Billy Joe Saunders. He says, Chris Eubank, but he never really mentioned Golovkin's name. And then later on, he said, I'm not afraid of Golovkin. I just want fair money. So when he says that before, but the point I'm making is he's not asking for fair money when it comes to Chris Eubank and when it's Billy Joe Saunders or someone else or Andy Lee. So my whole thing is I thought that Danny Jacobs against Golovkin, that's almost a 50-50 fight. But when I hear him talk like that, then I wonder if he has the confidence, to get in the ring and fight against Golovkin. And I think the same thing when it comes to Golovkin not wanting to fight Lara. I think the exact same thing. You fight Willie Monroe, who has a style very similar to Lara. Only difference is Willie Monroe doesn't have the power and he doesn't have the amateur pedigree. So,
I think Jacobs will fight Triple G, and I understand him saying it should be fair money because he's a bigger risk than Billy Joe. What's his name? Billy Saunders.
Billy Joe Saunders.
Fair money. He's a big, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
It's a bigger risk for him to fight Triple G. So you want the right money. I mean, boxing is a business too. At the end of the day, so you want to make sure you get compensated for fighting somebody who can possibly knock your head off.
Yeah.
Of course, you want the right money.
I mean,
I personally think that with Triple G and Lara, I don't know if it's I don't know. I don't. That fight does not intrigue me at all.
Yeah, because you think Lara has no chance. Yeah.
I want to see him against somebody who can test his chin, like a Daniel Jacobs or Canelo. I have to see that. Not these dudes that he's been beating. Lara's not busy enough. He take rounds off. He's frozen. He's not throwing no punches. He'll get beat up. I don't want to see that. I want to see him.
Hey, Dante.
Go ahead.
That's not a test.
Dante, since you have a channel too, and you get these same kind of comments, the thing that it drives me crazy with a lot of boxing fans is they just say these blanket statements and don't explain. Like, I'm reading comments like Jacobs will get whooped by Lemieux easy. But to me, boxing is a sport of what have you done for me lately. And the fact of the matter is, in Jacobs' last two performances, he had early nights and knockouts. And David Lemieux, on the other hand, got shut out, right? And he got destroyed by Triple G and couldn't do nothing with him, lost every single round. So how can you just automatically say that? That's like Brandon Rios, he got stopped in his last performance, so that's all I have to base his next performance off.
Yeah.
Like, he has an uphill battle now. You know what I'm saying? David Lemieux has an uphill battle. Where's he at psychologically?
Yeah.
You get these fans who say, Lemieux will crush Jacobs. I mean, I think it's a good fight. Lemieux has a shot in there, but at the same time, boxing is what have you done for me lately, and Jacobs is the man right now, at least for the time being, until someone proves otherwise.
This is the bottom line.
But Lemieux needs a stationary target, though. Lemieux needs a stationary target to hit his opponent with, that flush power shot, that overhand right, or that left hook to the body or left hook to the chin, to the temple. But I keep seeing Jacobs in that fight, and I'm visualizing it in my brain. And I see him jabbing, moving, using lateral movement, and setting him up for traps and hitting him with counter shots. Every time he opens up, I believe that Jacobs will hit him with something really big, and maybe even, who knows, because he has the power to hurt him. He might even stop him. You never know. You never know. So.
Yeah.
But you see what you just did? You broke down your opinion. That's what a lot of these other people aren't willing to do.
Yeah. He made logical sense. You got to remember, the people who saying this is all political. Basically, what they're telling you is because Golovkin fought him, now all of a sudden Lemieux was Joe Frazier, he was Marvin Hagler, just because Golovkin faced him. Next they're gonna be trying to tell us that Adama would have destroyed all of these guys, right? Rubio, he would have destroyed all of these guys. It's just a way to try to protect Golovkin because they understand that Golovkin is not as good of an opponent as Peter Quillin was. But they'll try to swing it however they can to protect Golovkin, and that's really what it comes down to. Because
Dante,
which one?
I told you this off air, Dante, and I'm gonna say it on air too.
Huh.
This is how I feel, and that's what I do. We cover fights sometimes, right? So if I flew from the West Coast, and only for a main event, I'm not talking about undercard, to see Peter Quillin and Danny Jacobs or Triple G versus Lemieux, and I spent $2,000, I'd be pissed if I seen Triple G Lemieux. That was a one-sided beatdown. Now, Danny Jacobs and Peter Quillin was a one-sided beatdown, too, but it was an early night. It was an upset. It was, you know what I'm saying? He wasn't the favorite to win. So if I had to pay for one main event, I would have been happier with the Quillin Jacobs because I got my money's worth. Like, damn, he just ravished him, and he proved me wrong. I like being proved wrong because I like a good underdog story.
And
the ass whooping that I told people about.
And David Lemieux was made for Triple G. I called that fight. I said, "Won't go past 7." It went to 8. His style was tailor made for Triple G. That was not that wasn't no competition. That was to make him look good. Come on now.
In this boxing baby, I'm also talking about the way it was advertised. They're talking about like this was a rock'em sock'em robot. Like
please
HBO. Like David Lemieux even said that on the 24/7. He said, "I don't care how hard he hits, but if I hit him flush, he's going down. I don't care if he's a robot." And then I was expecting a war. I didn't get no war. I got a one-sided jab beat down, and one guy was hesitant and had no weight on the inside.
Both guys were hesitant.
And it wasn't no upset.
Yeah.
Danny Jacobs upset. You know what I'm saying? What a lot of people predicted.
Yeah.
If anybody was going to get knocked out in the first round, everybody thought it would be Jacobs. I know I did. Nobody thought that he would knock out Quillin, a former champion. The man is undefeated. Throw that draw out the window. We know why they gave him the draw. He beat Andy Lee. Nobody thought that he would knock this man out in the first round. So respect to him. Whether I agree with the stoppage or not, he did it. He did what he was supposed to do.
Boxing baby.
So
boxing baby. He made that man. He made that man land 2 punches. Pacquiao landed more punches against Mayweather. He landed 71.
And he made him a stinky leg.
You got to give credit for that.
Absolutely. Now, I picked Jacobs to win. I had Jacobs to win. He actually extended my streak. It was wonderful, but I didn't expect that. And that's why I say very impressed with Jacob. Very, very impressed.
I think...
Stop harassing the man about Triple G and go harass Triple G by fighting somebody quality. They always harass. Every time somebody wins, they throw Triple G in their face. Throw somebody's name on Triple G's face because he ain't fought nobody.
Yeah.
They always do that. Nobody. And they don't say nothing bad about him.
I mean, it's just
He's a great fighter.
Yeah.
Who?
All of them. All the guys we mentioned, they're all great fighters.
I'm not calling Triple G great until he fights somebody quality. Sorry,
yeah, I mean, great to me, great is a big word for any of these fighters. You know what I mean? Once you start reaching pound for pound status, you know, once you start becoming top 5, you know, pound for pound the best fighter in the world, then we could start using words like great. But once again, when it comes to Gennady Golovkin, you know, he's 34. He's never even beaten an undefeated fighter that was, you know, ranked top 5, top 3, number 1. He's never done it before. He's never fought a pound-for-pound fighter. So until he does that, then, you know, we can start calling him great and all that kind of stuff. Like Teddy Atlas said, you know, if –
and look at, like, just look at these comments that they leave. They say David Lemieux lost to Hoshim Alcine. The Charlo brother just beat the shit out of him. You know what I'm saying? And he lost to Marco Antonio Rubio.
Yeah.
Danny Jacobs lost to Dimitri Pirog, who was a beast. And they were talking about making a fight with Dimitri Pirog, and Triple G. He was a beast at middleweight. He was looking good.
So he was 6'1".
Yeah.
The big guy for middleweight.
Yeah, I mean,
he was a title holder. I'd rather lose to him than Hoshim Alcine at middleweight.
Who's Hoshim Alcine? Who's that?
The Canadian guy.
That's the dude that beat David Lemieux, the Canadian.
Yeah.
I don't know him.
And Rubio.
After Lemieux got knocked out by Rubio, he lost a back-to-back fight.
Yeah.
I never heard of him. And Charlo just beat him?
Yeah, Macklin beat him, stopped him.
Yeah.
Never heard of him.
Yeah. But see, look, the bottom line is I have never heard fans criticize a guy who gets a first-round knockout over a guy who's undefeated and criticize him by comparing his opponents to Golovkin's opponents that Golovkin beat. You know, I mean, I've never seen anyone try to draw a comparison like that when you get in the first-round knockout over an undefeated fighter. You know, we haven't even seen Golovkin knock out an undefeated fighter in the first round. We haven't even seen it yet. So, I mean,
the thing is, he knocked out Willie Monroe in 6 rounds with 6 knockouts, and he didn't have the big fight experience. He seemed like he's a good fighter, but he doesn't have that level of experience. And people praise that performance more than they praise the Danny Jacobs beating a undefeated champion who's big and barely can even fit in the division damn near.
Mm-hmm.
Peter Quillin is huge.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And he's a power puncher.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Willie Monroe wasn't a power puncher. And then you see some of those same fans praising the Willie Monroe victory. Like, oh, you see Triple G's a monster.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I'm going to be honest, though. I want to see Triple G, and I know this probably going to piss a couple people off on the panel, but I want to see him go to 160. Man, like, because I keep saying, like, in 160, I understand he has unfinished bid and he want to unify every single title, blah, 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 blah. But, I mean, like, the dude, it seems like every time he hits somebody, they end up, like, I'm not going to say get scared because there's no such thing as getting scared in the ring, but they get extremely hesitant as soon as he lands one big power shot. It's almost like he has TNT in his glove. I'm not trying to hype him up, but I'm just keeping it real because I watch all the fights.
Oh, he's a very powerful
I don't
puncher.
go off the hype. I go off the reactions after that person gets hit, and it seems like every time he hits somebody, even Lemieux was cool, and then when he got hit with something big like that big left hook or that faint left hook with a right uppercut that he throws all the time, and when he got hit with that, meaning Lemieux, his whole mood changed, like his whole mindset changed. He kind of went into like a survival mode, and I'm like, when is it going to be somebody who can take, his full brunt of his punch and then actually still implement your game plan? I'm waiting on that boxer that can actually do that. You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't.
I think Daniel Jacobs could give him a nice. I think Daniel Jacobs could be able to give him that adaptive style that could test him. And let's not forget, Daniel Jacobs is 6 feet tall. He does have like a 73-inch reach. I think he's well suited to face Golovkin.
Yeah.
They had that fight
Right.
in Andre Ward that could test him. They ain't take that fight. That's the fight we're talking about right now. How the people don't.
No, that's the super fight. That's pay-per-view right there all day.
They should never
Dante, we talk.
so they don't keep protecting him.
Dante, we just talked about this the other day off air. The bottom line is when you step up, I don't care who you are, when you step up to elite level competition, chances are your opponent might win a round or two. You know what I mean? And especially if you keep fighting at that level. You know what I mean? Canelo was knocking out Carlos Baldomir at 41. He was destroying Josito Lopez. But then when he fought the Cottos, the Mayweathers, the Laras, they were more competitive. Danny Garcia, he fought Matisse, Zab Judah, gave him some problems in the championship round. Then he struggled with Herrera and Lamont Peterson. Notice how every other champion that's fighting at that high-caliber elite level is not one-sided beatdowns like Ann was saying where they taste the power and it's just done. Look at Andre Durrell versus James
DeGale.
He knocked that man down twice and had him badly hurt in the first 2 rounds. And then Durrell won the second half of the fight. That's because he's fighting at that championship elite level. Durrell's no punk, and he came to fight. So bottom line is Macklin's and dudes, they don't know how to do with it. Willie Monroe's biggest fight was Darnell Boone, which he lost to, or Brian Vera. So, yeah, he was shell-shocked when he felt Golovkin's power because Brian Vera's not cracking like that.
Mm-hmm. No, excellent point. And I want to go back to what Ann said because you didn't finish it. You started off, you was about to say you want to see Golovkin move up. Is that what you were about to say, Anthony? You said you wanted him to move up to a higher weight class? Or
yeah,
what?
I want him to move up to 168 to challenge himself and see if there's no more people to challenge himself at 168. Then go back down to 160. You know what I'm saying? Because he can make both weights comfortably. It's not like he struggles to make either way. I think he'll still be strong at 168 like he's at once. People know he won't be strong enough and blah, blah. You know, his supporters, his stands, as I call them, you know, they don't want to see him tested. And I just want to, look, he's at the tail end of his career, and he needs to be tested. He's already had like 400 amateur. Like, just give that man a test. What's wrong with that? You know what I'm saying? Like,
I totally agree. They want him to have that power advantage. Go ahead.
I told you this yesterday, Dante. I refuse to believe that any boxer out there who's continually fighting at that elite level, they're just going to one-sided win every round. You know what I mean? Floyd Mayweather is considered the best boxer on the planet, and all of his fights didn't even work like that. Zab Judah gave him problems early. Maidana gave him problems early. Cotto gave him problems early. You know what I mean? There's nobody on the planet, no matter how skilled they are, that all their fights are one-sided beatdowns to let you know the level of competition.
The level of competition.
Mike Tyson was knocking everybody out in the first year of his career when he was fighting just cans from New York or wherever. But then when he started fighting the better competitions, the Buster Douglases and stuff, they either beat him or made it competitive. You know what I mean? It wasn't just a first-round destruction.
And that's where you see the knockouts evaporate, too, you know, once you step up in competition. Like, you know, just like Nate.
Maidana knocked out everybody in Argentina. Look at his early record. He knocked
excellent.
everybody out.
Yeah,
then he
excellent
started fighting
point.
Eric Morales, motherfuckers who have experience and they're tough. Morales had no eye, and he was still in the fight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what happens when you fight people from around the world that are talented.
Or how many times do you hear stories where boxers are undefeated, they come from Colombia or Mexico, and as soon as they come over here to the States, they end up losing because they step up. Because they step up in competition, right? So that's the whole thing. Yeah, when it comes to Golovkin, I agree with Anthony. And, of course, I agree with Ego. With Golovkin, he's at the end of his career. He's like 34 years old. He needs to step up, and I think the only way he's really going to be challenged, I still believe Danny Jacobs, was a 50-50 fight or even a 60-40. I probably lean slightly lean towards Golovkin, but at the same time, it's a very competitive fight, and I wouldn't be surprised if Jacobs pulls it off. But 168 is where the real competition is going to be because Abel Sanchez, I talked to him, he told me a long time ago that Golovkin needs to probably move up to 168 or 175 because he's knocking out cruiserweights. They say he's knocking out cruiserweights in sparring. So, it's kind of like a little bit of the Canelo situation where Canelo, he wants to stay at 155 when he's coming in the ring at 175. So these cats, they want to keep this size advantage. But, we got a couple minutes left. We end up rambling too long. I want to touch on Anthony Joshua versus Dillian Whyte real quick. That fight, this fight is the biggest. I say next to Tyson Fury, Klitschko, this is the biggest heavyweight fight. It's the most important heavyweight fight this year. And it makes it almost a little tough to pick because, Anthony Joshua's never been tested like this. But, of course, I'm going to pick Anthony Joshua to win the fight. I believe Dillian Whyte is a little slow. He's a little bit wider. And I think Anthony Joshua is the real deal. Anthony, what do you think, man? Real quick, man. Go ahead and pick a winner on that.
Anthony Joshua versus Wilder or Anthony Joshua versus
Dillian Whyte.
Versus
Dillian Whyte.
The guy he's gonna face.
Dillian Whyte this Saturday. Undefeated prospect.
Oh, this Saturday? Okay. Well, I feel that the guy that he's facing, he's really, really confident. He's going in there, he's talking stuff, trying to get in his head, which is smart because you never know, that might end up working into his favor. But when it comes down to skill for skill, when they go mano a mano, golpe a golpe, I feel that Anthony Joshua, if he catches him early, he'll get him out of there. But if it goes into a longer, more strenuous fight where he has to really use his mind and really have to use his skills and everything, I still feel that his opponent may have the edge there because he's been 12 rounds many, many, many times. And Anthony Joshua really hasn't had a whole lot of, top 12-round experience. And I feel like his opponent will definitely, try to take him into deep waters and drown him and maybe even pull off a humongous upset. Because I remember even Deontay Wilder watching one of his videos, and he said, man, I sparred with the dude before that he's facing, and he's really, really, really better than what most people think. A lot of people think he's not that good, but he actually has a lot of talent, a lot of variables, a lot of skills. So.
And he beat Anthony Joshua in the amateurs as well. So
and that too, that's right.
Yeah. So and I'm assuming everyone is picking Anthony Joshua to beat Dillian Whyte. We are pretty much out of time. We did a whole lot of rambling, but that's good though. Make time go by, and we got a lot of stuff out. So. With that being said, I want to say thanks to the panel once again. BoxingEgo, Eric Morales, Miss Boxing Baby, and Antphresh. Check out his YouTube channel. He's also going to be turning pro very soon, so check him out. We'll see you guys next week. It's the Nation, baby.